Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to Relationships, Red Flags, and Risk Reduction. I'm so excited to hang out with y'all again. If you, just so you know, if you have any questions or you want to say anything, just shoot your hand up. And if I can't see you, Jamie, if you wouldn't mind calling on them, just like disrupting me for a second so that I can make sure I'm answering questions as they come in.
Excellent, everybody, definitely.
Also, this is super interactive. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions and, answering back makes the whole thing a lot more fun and we get a lot more feedback that way. So, if you wouldn't mind just kind of playing along with me, that would be awesome. And then before we jump too much in, I do want to give just a quick content warning. Because of the nature of the conversation, it will be about healthy and toxic relationships. It will be about red flags, and I use the legal verbiage of things. If at any point you're starting to feel uncomfortable or unsafe, there are a few different things you can do. First and foremost, you can get up and leave, take a walk. I'm sure the air in New York right now is nice and crisp. So, go take a walk, take some deep breaths. You could also put some earbuds in if you don't want to get up. You can put in earbuds or put your head down and close your eyes and take deep breaths. Or if you snap your fingers, you actually trick your brain to send receptors to your fingertips and not to your eyes. I use it a lot during movies when I don't want to cry. And my husband thought I was a nut job at first. When I told him about it, he thought I was a lunatic. And then he tried it and it works. And he swears by it now. So those are 3 things that you can do if you feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Other than that, I tried to make it very trauma informed where you're still getting the education piece and the knowledge without being too in your face. So make sure to take care of yourself, drink lots of water, and have an apple. It sounds delicious. All right. Getting into a relationship might seem tempting, but so is getting on the Titanic. And look what happened there. I'm just kidding, obviously. Relationships are incredible and they teach us all about ourselves. They teach us about our likes and our dislikes. They teach us about who we are and what we need from a partner. But it's the trick is finding healthy ones. So yes, relationships are a really good thing. They always teach us something that we needed to know about ourselves. So real quick, I just kind of wanted to go over the different types of relationships. There are 2 different types of relationships. There are romantic relationships, that's dating, hookups, partnerships, marriage, friends with benefits, even situationships, which I still I don't understand, but there's intimacy involved and that's what makes it romantic. And then there's platonic relationships, there's friendships, team acquaintances, family. Anyone who you have a relationship with, it could be a coworker or classmate who is not intimate, but you still have, emotion attached to them, right? We love our friends, but we don't love our friends the same way we love our partners. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So let's think, when we think of our friends and our partners, let's think of healthy qualities that we want in those friends and partners. What are some things you could think of? What do you think? You can shout them out.
Positive feedback.
Positive feedback. Someone who's supportive and honest, right? Someone who makes us feel safe and encourages us to grow. That's an awesome example. What else?
Trustworthiness.
Someone who's trustworthy, absolutely, who we can rely on, who's there for us when we need them, who we can talk to without feeling judged. Awesome. Absolutely. What else?
Good communication.
Someone who is good communication, who knows how to have the tough conversations with you, right? Or will listen to the tough conversations, and who you can talk to and feel safe, right? It's like a safe space when you can communicate with that person. What else?
Someone who cares.
Someone who cares, who shows that you're important to them, right? They show up for you. They check in on you. They remember your birthday. Sometimes they even remember your coffee order. That makes you feel good, right? They surprise you with nice things. Awesome. They show you that they care. It's a great list. What about someone who's accountable for their actions? Someone who takes responsibility, like when they hurt your feelings, they apologize. Do we like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Instead of saying something like, well, that sounds like a you problem, or I'm sorry you feel that way, they say something like, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. That was not my intention. or I am so sorry that I hurt you. I won't do that again, right? There's a big difference between someone who takes accountability for their actions and someone who pushes the blame on you. What about toxic? What is the opposite of this list? What don't we want in relationships?
Someone who's going to basically bulldog themselves into doing what they want to do instead of what you want to do.
Somebody who's super pushy, right? Who's selfish. Everything that you do has to be about them, right? They need it their way, and that's it. No conversation, no compromise. They'll bulldog their way. I like that. They'll bulldog their way into whatever it is that they want to do. Absolutely. Someone who's pushy or a bully or isn't willing to compromise. Awesome. What else? What about, oh, go ahead.
Someone who lies a lot.
Someone who lies. Can you trust somebody who lies?
No.
No. You never know what is honest and what is dishonest, right? What's real and what's not real. And it's hard to trust them. You don't feel supported by them. And a lot of times we resent them, right? Or we grow to resent them. What about someone who withholds needs? Whether it's like emotional needs, like comfort or validation, or stops answering you when you need them. You can't really rely on them. Or even somebody like an authority figure who withholds physical needs like food or kicks you out of the house, right? Those things, that's toxic, right? We don't like that. It doesn't make us feel safe or comfortable, right? So this is my list. These are not exhaustive lists, but these are a lot of things that I see in toxic relationships. Who knows what gaslighting is?
Basically string someone or someone else along until they decide, whoop, nope, not gonna happen.
So kind of. Gaslighting is one of those like trendy terms now that people misuse quite often. And so I really like to focus on gaslighting because it is so incredibly dangerous, and it's dangerous to misuse it too. So do we know what manipulation is? When someone manipulates a situation, they twist it around so they're not at fault, but you are, right? Well, I told you that I was going to get angry if you bothered me again. Right? So now they're justifying their anger because you did something, or I did this because I needed to teach you a lesson, right? They're manipulating a situation. So they might have hurt you or said something awful. And instead of saying, I'm sorry for what I did, they say, well, you made me do that, right? I did that because of something you did first. They're manipulating. Gaslighting is taking that concept a step further. Not only are they not responsible for what happened, but you're crazy for feeling that way. So it would be like if I slapped the phone out of your hand and you said, why did you hit my phone? I said, what are you talking about? I would never touch your phone. I can't even reach it. I have little arms. You must be nuts for thinking that I would do something like that. I don't even care enough to do so. You see what I mean? So not only is it manipulating a situation and they're not taking responsibility, but they twist it around to make you feel crazy so that now you think, oh, maybe she didn't do that. Maybe I'm nuts. Like maybe I misunderstood or misremembered, and you stop trusting your instinct. You stop trusting your reality and your memories and your experiences. And now I have full mind control over you. So in the future, if I say something, you're more likely to believe me than what you experienced, right? I have a family member who is like the gaslighting champion in the Olympics. It's really fun now that I can see it to like mess with her. But it wasn't always. It used to be really hard for me. And she'll take childhood memories that I have and convince me, or used to try and convince me that they didn't happen. And like basically took away my childhood. So little things like I went scuba diving with my brother, and she tried to convince me that never happened. So something that I know in my heart has happened, she would try and twist it to make me feel like I was crazy, so that in the future, anything she said, I'd be like, oh yeah, you must be right because my memory is terrible. Do you see what I mean? So it's super dangerous because then they have full mind control over you. So gaslighting is a big, big deal. If somebody is trying to gaslight you, not only is that a very toxic experience or very toxic behavior, but it's a super big red flag. Sound good? Everyone's like, no, that's horrible. So is there anything else on this list that is jumping out at you that you want to kind of explore or you want like clarification on?
I think we've all experienced a person who's had a relationship that's, we can think of.
And friends can do this stuff too. This is not specific to romantic relationships. Friends can threaten us. Friends can gaslight us. Friends give us the silent treatment, right? But friends can also support us, create and build trust. So this is not exclusively for romantic relationships. Family members can do this stuff. Teammates can do this. Coaches can do this. Friends can do this. So it's not, I don't want you to look at this as like a one-dimensional, this is only for romantic relationships. Everybody in their life has likely experienced a toxic friendship. Not allowing our friends to treat us this way is really important too. All right, so we're gonna do a fun group activity now. Think of your favorite TV show or movie, and using this list or these lists, what are one healthy and one toxic behavior, relationship in that TV show or movie? Let me shout them out.
One series that comes to mind is, actually, no, it's not coming to mind right now.
That's okay. Has anyone seen the TV show Friends?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Friends.
Who's a toxic relationship in Friends?
Rachel and Ross,
Rachel and Ross. Why are they toxic?
because the whole fakakta show is about whether or not they were gonna get together or not by the end of the goddamn thing.
Oh, the show. Yes, you're right. That's just really funny. Yeah, so they don't communicate well, right? For 10 years, for 10 seasons, we're going back and forth. Were they on a break? Were they not on a break? I don't know, but nobody knows because they won't just have a stinking conversation about it, right? They don't communicate well. They don't solve problems together. Instead, they belittle each other, they attack each other, they undermine each other, right? They sabotage each other. That's not safe or healthy, right? They also don't support each other. Rachel doesn't support Ross's career. She doesn't really support him as a person and his endeavors or any of his relationships, because every time he's in a relationship, she goes after him, right? And Ross doesn't really trust or respect Rachel. So once she gets into the workforce, any man that's anywhere near her, whether it's a boss, a coworker, or an assistant, he gets super duper jealous and starts to gets territorial and possessive, right? He just shows up all the time and is always in her business, right? They don't communicate, they don't respect each other, and they're not supportive or trustworthy of each other, right? Super toxic. What about a healthy relationship in Friends?
Monica and Chandler. Yeah.
Monica and Chandler, why are they healthy?
Well, they talk, they communicate, they try to be normal human beings.
They talk, they communicate, they're normal human beings, right? They support each other and they respect each other. When they're going through work turmoil, right? Chandler trying to find his new passion, and Monica with like her businesses and her cooking. They're very supportive of each other, right? They communicate really well, especially when they're going through something, when they're struggling like with infertility, right? They communicate really well. They're always supportive of each other. They listen to each other, and they're very respectful towards each other. Even when they're goofing around or, arguing, they're still very respectful. The relationship always feels stable and safe. You never feel like the roller coaster turmoil of Ross and Rachel. Will they, won't they? What's going to happen this time? Are they going to be together? Are they not going to be together? Are they going to break up with their other person? It's just a roller coaster, right? It makes us feel like stressed out to watch them. Whereas Monica and Chandler, it's just very stable. And so it's nice to see. What else? What's another TV show or movie?
Law and Order.
Law and Order?
I'm always
Uh,
watching it.
just, I mean, which one, the special victims unit?
Yes, yeah.
Who is a healthy relationship in an SVU?
I'd have to say, and this is, goes by from what I remember of the show, the characters of Dominic Carisi and Amanda
Yes.
Rollins.
Yes.
They were a healthy relationship
Yes.
Why are they healthy?
because they started out as partners. They really didn't like each other, but over time they developed respect for one another. They displayed care for one another. So when they got married and had decided to expand the whatever kids Amanda had through prior relationships, Sunny was there for Amanda.
Okay. So it sounds like they had, I didn't watch, I've seen episodes, but I've never watched it consistently. So it sounds like they had great communication, right? They supported each other and they were very respectful, right? That
Yeah.
sound right?
Yes.
And ironically, the most toxic relationship, I think, belongs to Olivia Benson and Elliot Stabler throughout the first 12 years. I mean,
Yes.
they were driving, I mean, they tried to frame it as brother and sister or like lovers on the job site, but as much as I like the duo, they drove each other nuts.
Okay. So they didn't communicate well, right? It sounds like they were very hostile towards each other.
Not always, but it was more like professional trying to get the case solved any way they could.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
more of like a rigid communication where they didn't communicate well.
Yeah,
Were they still respectful of each other and their positions?
absolutely.
Okay, that's good. Well, I mean, so are we catching a trend here? There are three main criteria for a healthy relationship: communication, trust, and respect, right? If they don't have all three of those things, it's not a healthy relationship. You can still support and respect each other and not know how to communicate, and it's still an unhealthy relationship because communication is such a huge part of relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic, right? So moving forward, so actually, side note question, why do you think that when we think of TV shows and movies, it's so much easier to come up with a toxic relationship than it is a healthy relationship?
We know what not to do.
So you know what not to do, but isn't it because they're so much more entertaining, right? We love watching.
Always.
You say not always?
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
I've seen shows in which I'm going to talk about a movie I never thought I would talk about again. The movie, The Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, I mean, the character of Gaston, as much as he was the villain, I mean, he did act like a jackass. I'm not going to deny that he is a jackass. But even a jackass he was trying to say, look at me, why don't you give me a break, to Belle. And when Belle goes for the monster that was in the thing, as much as Belle's a princess, she's as much as like an instigator of the incidents in the thing. So maybe it's just how I'm perceiving it. I mean, because I've got some bad PSTD with the whole Fakata thing.
You and I can discuss that separately because I don't necessarily agree with you, but we like watching toxic relationships because they're entertaining, right? Beauty and the Beast would not have nearly been as entertaining if Gaston wasn't a part of it, right? Or even if the Beast wasn't a part of it, because he's also pretty toxic. I've had a long debate about that movie with friends, but the entertainment value comes from the toxicity, because if everything was stable and easy all the time, we'd get so bored, right? Imagine two healthy partners sitting on the couch having a conversation about something difficult without it escalating for 30 minutes. You'd be like, oh my God, please turn this off. You know, the toxic and the tumultuous, volatile relationships on TV and in movies are what captivate us, what keep us entertained. I mean, look at any reality TV show, right? Any of the Real Housewives shows, there's not an episode where someone doesn't throw a phone or flip a table or start
Oh.
cursing or scream at each other. And it's
I,
go ahead.
I immediately thought, when you said reality shows, there was one person in particular who basically inspired generations of Karens. Kate Goslin. She just treated her husband like crap. And he's no Prince Charming either, and so basically, I feel sorry for the 8 kids they have. And
Makes sense.
the
But
fact that every action she's done has inspired generations of women to basically act like her, or dress like her, or talk like her to people, pisses me off.
So that's the problem though, right? So the entertainment value also sets people up to think that that's what to expect in relationships and that behavior is appropriate, right? So we look at Disney movies. Let's just take Disney movies as a whole. It's women who are damsels in distress being saved by pompous men, right? Who will mistreat or say things that are rude or kiss them when they're sleeping. Like, that's none of that behavior is okay, but we grow up being primed that that stuff is okay, right? And if you watch any movie or TV show pretty much up until like 5 years ago, that toxicity, that horrible behavior, the persistence and the coercion and the manipulation, all of that stuff sets us up to believe that that is what is appropriate in relationships. That's what we look for. The jealousy, right? It's, oh, they're so romantic and so flattered that they're jealous. They only want me to hang out with them. When in reality, jealousy is super possessive and controlling. So we've basically been set up to believe that those toxic relationships, those volatile relationships are what we should be looking for as opposed to something stable and healthy. Right? Has anyone watched any doctor show like Grey's or House or anything like that? Scrubs?
Yes.
So you know when somebody's like bottoming out, when they're starting to die and their heart monitor goes boop, 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 boop. That is what a healthy relationship should feel like. Stable and consistent all the time with an occasional blip, right? Sometimes you argue, sometimes you disagree, sometimes you fight, and that's totally okay. But it should feel like that dying heart monitor where everything feels very consistent and stable and safe. I need to find a better analogy because that kind of is, it doesn't feel right to say. But do we have any questions about this or anything else we want to add? Any other shows? No, everyone's so quiet today.
Everyone's great?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is,
Marissa, can you go back? What were the 3 keys of a healthy relationship? Can you just say that one more time?
sure. So the 3 criteria for a healthy relationship are communication, trust, and respect.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So these are my lists. Has anyone seen Gilmore Girls?
That's mine.
On occasion,
Season,
yeah.
right? So Emily and Lorelai are super toxic, horribly toxic. Emily uses money and Rory to leverage and manipulate Lorelai, right? There's no respect there. They don't communicate either way. Neither of them will actually ever talk to each other. Everything is surface level and manipulation and jabs and nitpicking and just rude, right? So they have a very, very unhealthy relationship, a very toxic relationship. What about The Office? Anyone seen The Office?
Yep.
Yeah. Michael and Jan, why are they toxic? Michael and Jan are super toxic. Michael is very codependent and needy. He relies very heavily on Jan for support and for love. He also disrespects her boundaries and her professional boundaries, right? By sending out that picture to the whole office of her in a bikini. And when she asked him not to say anything about them being together, he blabbed it out to everybody and had to brag. And Jan is very disrespectful and selfish. She takes over his house. She breaks his things. She demeans him. And they don't communicate well at all, right? With the whole like vasectomy thing with the snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. That's poor communication. That's really disrespectful as well for like him and his body. And then we went over Ross and Rachel, but Harley Quinn and the Joker are super toxic and very, very abusive. And what really stuns me about Harley Quinn and the Joker is that when the Suicide Squad movie came out, or, you know, anytime a movie comes out about Harley Quinn and the Joker, like I know one just came out with Lady Gaga and yeah, thank you. People start to emulate that and they're like, oh, I want a love like Harley Quinn and the Joker. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Amen. You know why? Because I've seen that stuff happen in the animated series back in the 1990s when they came hooked up. It was like,
yeah,
how stupid is this woman? She's supposed to be a psychiatrist. She's not supposed to fall for the Joker's bullshit. Pardon my French for that, but for you to buy into what the Joker is saying, you are screwed up in the head yourself.
She's absolutely screwed up, and that's why she falls for everything. Side note, I would 100% listen to your response podcast about pretty much any movie you've watched or TV show, because I think you're hilarious. But yeah, they're extremely toxic. She is very, very codependent, very needy, relies very heavily on him for all of her emotional and physical needs. And he's super abusive. He's very neglectful. He withholds those needs. He kind of, has anyone ever heard of dangling the carrot? Like he baits her and then takes it away, right? He gives her attention and takes it away, and gives her attention and takes it away. And that's a form of manipulation, because then she always has to feel, she feels like she always has to work harder to get his attention and prove that she loves him, as opposed to a stable relationship where you don't feel that pressure, right? So those are really, these are some really toxic relationships. And these are healthy relationships, a little bit harder to think of, but anyone watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
No.
No, that's okay. What about New Girl?
Oh, yes.
Some New Girl. Okay. So I love Cece and Winston's relationship. They're great friends. They're so supportive of each other. They communicate really well in the later seasons when they start to do like the Winston Cece mess arounds and things like that. But they're just a really good team. They're very respectful. They're very kind. They're very communicative and loving towards each other. It's just a really like pure and fun and innocent friendship to watch, where you also don't feel stress watching them. All right. So when you go to the beach in the summer and you see a red flag, what does that mean?
Basically, that's danger. You don't go near it.
Yeah, danger. Don't go in the water. There's an algae, or the undertow is really strong, or there's a shark, but something is happening. So do not go in the water because it's dangerous. It's the same exact thing with a relationship. When you see a red flag, that's a big indication that there is danger and you need to get out safely, or you need to leave that relationship safely. So this is a non-exhaustive list of red flags. These are just some of the most common ones we see. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I'm going to pick a couple. And if there's any that jump out at you that you want me to expand on, I'm happy to do that. But my favorite one to talk about is, if you love me, you'll, what happens at the end of that sentence?
I love you, do this.
If you love me, you'll do something for me, right? If you love me, prove it. They're leveraging your emotion for their benefit, right? If you love me, you'll buy me a PS5. If you love me, you won't go out with your friends tonight and you'll stay in with me. If you love me, you won't go home for Christmas. You'll stay here, or you'll come to my house. If you love me, you'll quit that club or that organization. If you love me, you'll cut down your work hours, right? No matter what happens, you are giving something up or sacrificing something for their benefit. It's manipulating. You see what I mean? That makes sense? So if anyone ever says to you, if you love me, you'll know that that's a manipulation tactic. What about like controlling behaviors, telling you who you can and cannot hang out with, what you can and cannot eat, what you can and cannot wear, right? We as human beings can set boundaries and say, it makes me uncomfortable when, or I don't like it when, right? Or maybe consider doing something like this because it might be a healthier option, but we can't set rules for people, right? There's a big difference. Telling someone what the rule is, what they can and cannot do, is controlling. We're being told what we can and cannot do is controlling, versus saying, it makes me uncomfortable when you call me after 8 p.m. It makes me uncomfortable when you show up to my work. it makes me uncomfortable, or I don't like it when you send out mass text messages of pictures that you took of me without my permission, right? Those are all very different than controlling behaviors. Then let's see. What about if like somebody, a significant person in your life doesn't like your new partner or your new friend? Why could that be a red flag?
Because they're your friend, you should like who you like. And if they don't, if your other half doesn't like that person, that's their problem, yeah.
So that's actually a different perspective. So you're thinking that that your partner doesn't like, or I'm sorry, that a new person in your life doesn't like your old partner, like your older friends or whatever. Is that what you were saying? So I might have phrased this one incorrectly. So if you have a new friend or a new partner, and the people who have been stable in your life, who are significant to you, don't like that new person, that's the red flag I was talking about. Because when you start a new relationship, you kind of have those love blinders on, right? Where we can overlook a lot of bad behaviors. But your friends and your family, the people who are significant in your life, who look out for you and want you to have the best, don't have those love blinders. So they won't be able to rationalize or justify bad behavior. They'll likely bring it to your attention and say, hey, I don't really like how that person spoke to you, or I don't like how your partner did this. That made me uncomfortable, or I don't like them, right? And that's something, in my opinion, to keep track of. Because if the significant people who have been in your life, whose opinions you trust and who are there to look out for you, don't like somebody new in your life, take that seriously. They are the ones that truly love you and are looking out for you. And they don't have those love blinders that'll, block them from seeing bad behaviors. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think you looked at it from a different direction, which is totally fine. I could have been more specific. Is there anything else on this list that is kind of jumping out at you? Like I said, this is not an exhaustive list. This is not every red flag. These are just the most common ones that we see. Like cheating. Cheating is a big red flag, right? Does it show you that they respect you?
Not at all,
No. Does it show you that you can trust them?
not for 1 second.
And it's probably not great communication either, right? Sneaking around behind your back and hooking up with other people, or, even like emotionally cheating, talking to other people, right? It doesn't make you feel like you can talk to them, and they probably don't feel like they can talk to you about it, right? So it's just a bad scenario. So all of these, like I said, are just things to be aware of. If you have somebody in your life who treats you this way, who nonstop calls and texts you till your phone dies, right? To try and deter you from being around other people and to optimize your time, right? Somebody who tries to manipulate you or gaslight you, or even isolate you from other people. Those are big red flags that this relationship is not safe. Oops. Hard to swallow pills. They aren't corks, they're warnings. So we do have some Office fans in here, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. This is a great example of gaslighting.
I'm just saying that you can't be sure that it wasn't you. That's ridiculous. Of course it wasn't me. Marijuana is a memory loss drug, so maybe you just don't remember. I would remember. Well, how could you if it just erased your memory? That's not how it works. No, how do you know how it works? Knock it off. Okay, I'm interviewing you. No, you said that I'd be conducting the interview when I walked in here. Now, exactly how much pot did you smoke?
So do you see what was done there? Jim not only spun the scenario so that Dwight was at fault, but then made him feel crazy, like he couldn't remember correctly the reason that they were having that conversation, right?
Well, if my memory serves me right, the relationship between Jim and Dwight have always been like oil and nitroglycerin.
Yes. They're not friendly, in my opinion. So I love the show, but Jim is really the bad guy because he kind of bullies Dwight. Now, Dwight is equally as bad. He's, shrewd and disrespectful and does not care or consider anyone else's boundaries or feelings. But Jim is definitely a bully. And so there's that. But yeah, you're right. Their relationship is not great. Oop. Okay. Red flags are a danger, not a challenge. Until next time. All right. So we've talked about red flags, but have you ever heard of yellow flags?
Yes.
Think of a stoplight, right? Red flag means, and red light means don't go, danger, stop, right? Leave. Yellow flag is like the yellow light, caution, slow down, take inventory of what's happening because this could escalate into something way worse, right? Think of it like a caution sign or like a yellow flag. It's something that makes you feel uncomfortable, like gives you the ick, but isn't inherently dangerous, right? They're not desirable, but they're not necessarily like dangerous behaviors. So some examples could be if they say, all my exes are crazy, right? If you're on a first date and one of the things that they say at the dinner is, all my exes are crazy. Ugh. Doesn't make you feel very safe with them, right? Kind of makes you uncomfortable, right? Or what if you're out with friends and you're out at a restaurant and they're rude to a server, right? It doesn't make you feel good, right? It's not dangerous, but it's uncomfortable. Or if they don't have any other friends, they don't talk about other people, right? They don't have anyone else in their life. So they're 100% reliant on you for all of their social interaction. It's not dangerous, but it feels like something's not right, right? Like something, why are they so needy? Why doesn't anybody else like them? So think of other things in your life or like behaviors, and these can be subjective, right? Because everybody has different experiences. So think of different behaviors that could make you feel uncomfortable like that. Wow, all of your ex-girlfriends are crazy. That's such a weird coincidence for you, man. So weird how that happened for you. So we're going to play a game. Do you remember a couple of years ago on social media, people were saying he's a 10 and all, or he's a 10, but, and then it was something a little cringe. So we're going to do the same thing. It's he, she, or they're a 10, but, and think of a yellow flag. Like for me, a weird deal breaker, and it's just for me, it's subjective, but you know, he's a 10, but he puts milk in before the cereal. It just like makes me feel weird. I watch it happen, and how do you know how much milk to put in? Like it makes me uncomfortable. Silly, but that's something that like genuinely raises a flag for me, right? So think about something that is a yellow flag for you. And there's a couple examples on the board. Shout them out if you think of one. Or if you resonate with any of the examples.
He's a 10, but he's rude to service staff.
He's a 10, but he's rude to service staff. Yeah, right? It makes you not want to be there with them. And it also kind of shows us how they feel about people they feel are below them, right?
She's a 10, but says I'm fine when she's mad.
She's a 10, but she always says I'm fine when she's sad or upset or angry, right? That's not really good communication. You can't really communicate off I'm fine.
She's a 10, but she doesn't give me a break.
What does that mean?
Well, basically, I know it sounds like I'm being a jackass, but I have no idea what I'm saying anymore.
Okay, so what about she's a 10, but she's really codependent. Like she relies on me for everything, right? Like can't be away. I have friends in my friend group like that where they cannot be apart from each other or they literally combust. Like you'd think that they would blow up into a pile of sand if they were ever away from each other. And that's so unhealthy, right? Like burst into a pile of sand.
Boundaries are important.
It creates an unreasonable dependence, right? So that could be a yellow flag. Like they put so much pressure on me needing to be there with them all the time or me needing to do everything for them, right? That could even become a red flag. What about they're a 10, but every time you're trying to talk to them about something important or meaningful, they sit on their phone like this. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah,
Does that feel good?
oh, that's a bad deal.
That's bad. It makes us feel bad, like what we're feeling and experiencing isn't important, right? Anyone else have one to add? So, do we understand the difference between red flags and yellow flags?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we understand how yellow flags can also be or escalate into dangerous behaviors?
Yes.
Yellow flags might not be dangerous right there, but they're setting a stage for a dangerous behavior, right? If they're ignoring you when you're talking to them or they're rude to servers, it shows you that behavior eventually will become behavior that they feel towards you or towards other people in your life. And that's not okay, right? We want the people in our lives to respect everyone else that's in our lives. All right, types of headaches: migraine, hypertension, stress, yellow flags in relationships. They're just so confusing and so frustrating because sometimes we can't even place them. Like we don't realize how horrible they feel. They're just so confusing. All right, we're going to segue into consent because it's really important that we talk about this, especially in terms of healthy and toxic relationships. So in the state of New York, in order for there to be legal consent, all parties involved need to be at least 17 years old, awake, so nobody can be asleep or unconscious, aware, in control of all your faculties, sober, no drugs, no alcohol, and enthusiastically willing, right? Who wants to make out with someone who's like, yeah, I guess? That's not fun, right? It's not fun for anyone. So we go for enthusiastically willing. We want like yeah, no, I'd love to make out with you. That sounds fun, right? We want everyone involved to be having fun and be the same level of enthusiasm. And everybody needs to be cognitively sound. So in the state of New York, if they have the emotional age or the cognitive or intellectual age below 17, they are not legally capable of consenting. The absence of a no is not a yes. Only a yes means yes. Everything else means no. Consent can be withdrawn at any time. So you could be mid whatever intimate act. And if somebody says, can we stop? Or I'm really tired, or I don't want to do this anymore, that means consent is withdrawn and that act is no longer legal. Consent is conditional. So you can put conditions on consent, like wearing a condom or being on birth control or having the lights on or off, right? Or in a certain place or at a certain time. Those conditions are really important for respect and safety for your partner, right? So has anyone heard of stealthing? Probably not. It was a conversation in the mid 2010s, and it was the condition for the consent was that a condom was present. At some point during sex, one partner would take off the condom without telling the other partner and then continue to have sex. And then, and because the condition of the consent was that there was a condom, once the condom was removed, consent was gone, was removed, and that became sexual assault, that became rape. So respecting the conditions and not sneaking around the conditions or pushing for something else or for the condition to be taken away, all very respectful and creating a safe environment. Consent for each step. Just because you consented to one thing, to making out, doesn't mean you consented to escalating. You have to keep checking in because the whole key for consent is that everybody feels safe and secure and heard and nobody feels violated. Just because they consented before doesn't mean they consent all the time. I've been married to my partner for years now, and we still ask for consent anytime either of us want to have sex or do anything intimate, right? Because we think it's so important that we both feel safe all the time. And if it was a no, if at first it was a no, but through coercion or persistence, it becomes a yes, it's still a no. Do we know what coercion is? No. Coercion is like persistently asking or making somebody feel guilty for saying no until they say yes, right? So Hey, do you want to have sex? No. Please, come on. If you'll just do it, it'll be fine. It'll be really quick. Can you just, but you say you love me, right? If you love me, you'll have sex with me. Fine, I'll have sex with you. That's still a no, because basically what I did was try and make the person feel guilty until they said yes, or persistently ask until I got a yes. And I wasn't going to stop until I got a yes. That's coercion. And we never want somebody to feel guilty or, pressured into having sex with us or making out with us or doing anything with us, right? It goes back to enthusiastically willing. We want an enthusiastic yes. And if you don't get that enthusiastic yes, it's a no. Any questions on consent? Okay. If there's no consent, it's a crime. So all of these rules need to be followed in order for consent to be legal. No means ask again. No, you rip that up and you throw it in fire. No means no. All right. I think this map is so interesting. This is the age of consent around the country. As you can see, there's a lot of 16. And take inventory of this map, specifically the Southeast region, because I have a trivia question. And whoever gets it right, I'm going to mail a coloring book to Jamie to get to you. So, trivia question. Which U.S. state had the lowest age of consent until 2018, and what was the age? I'll go back to the map. Just shout them out.
Florida, Alabama,
15.
15.
You're very close.
Arkansas,
Arkansas,
But one of them's like first.
and Georgia.
Mm-mm.
Mississippi,
Mississippi. Okay.
15.
How old? What was the age?
15.
15. My God.
13.
14.
14.
14. So in 2018, only 6 years ago, they changed the age of consent in Mississippi, which is right here, right? Nope. Yeah, right here. From 14 to 16 years old. That's truly gross to me. It's also my only fun fact. So, but that means in 2018, so 6 years ago, 14-year-olds were allowed to consent to sex and to marriage in the state of
The age
Mississippi.
of consent was always 21 or over.
No, the age of consent is actually mostly 16 around the country. 21 is to drink. So, yeah, fun fact. And so I will, Jamie, I'm going to send a coloring book for you to give to the student, 2 students who got that right? We said one was Mississippi and one said 14. All right, I'm trying to get laid. What do? Respect boundaries, get consent, do what you want. No, you kick that person out of a window. Just kidding, don't do that. That's not legal advice. Okay, so if there was a 100% guaranteed way for me to push a button and say you will never ever experience a toxic or abusive relationship in your life, my gosh, I would slam that button. But unfortunately, that's not the case, and there are toxic people everywhere and people who will try and take advantage of you and hurt you. And so there are different ways that you can be proactive to reduce your risk. First and foremost, being situationally aware. Do we know what situational awareness is? I think it's like very perfectly named. It's just being observant of your environment, right? Aware of your situation. Who's in the room with you? What's going on? Is someone there that's not supposed to be there? Does anything feel off or wrong? What is my exit strategy? All of these are different ways to reduce your risk, especially in like bars or parties or scenarios where you might not be in your home or in a safe place, right? So being situated and in your home or in safe places, right? This can happen anywhere. So just being aware of your situation, aware of who's around you and what's happening around you is a really good way to reduce your risk. Setting healthy boundaries. Like I mentioned earlier, boundaries are just guidelines that we set that allow other people to know how to treat you and what you expect from them and what they can expect from you, right? It's like a love letter to a friend. It's telling people, if you want to be in my life, this is how you can make me feel safe, right? And so setting those boundaries and then sticking to your convictions, setting the boundaries and defending them will reduce your interactions with people who are disrespectful and with people who will continue to disrespect your boundaries, right? Eventually you'll catch on and say, that person might not be healthy for me anymore. recognizing the red flags and the yellow flags that we spoke about today, and then knowing your resources. What resources do you have on campus that you can go to if you are experiencing anything like we talked about?
You got your counselors, you got your teachers.
We got some people in the room right here that help us all the time.
Yeah, there are people in the room right now with you who are there to help, right? Jamie can help, or at least get you to someone who can. Counselors and wellness. I'm sorry, Jamie, were you saying something?
They help us all the time. And Roland T's, if this is specifically for the EOP students, yeah.
You have a ton of resources on campus for you. You even have like the call buttons and campus safety, right?
No, we don't have those.
Oh, you don't have those. Okay, I apologize. And then what about outside of campus? What do you have available to you outside of campus?
Fearless.
Fearless. What's Fearless?
Fearless is the domestic and sexual violence response organization for Sullivan County. So they are responsible for support in those areas. They have a 24-hour crisis hotline. Good resources there.
Awesome. So you have Fearless. You have counselors and mental health professionals like therapists, hospitals, police. There are tons, friends and family, right? There are tons of resources that you have. It's just about knowing who they are and how to contact them. Awesome job. Real quick. So we talked about the don'ts for relationships. These are the do's, right? Don't be a Karen with a K, be a Karen with a C. Someone who's communicative, an advocate, respectful, empathetic, and nourishing, right? Somebody who you can talk to, who you feel safe with, who will defend you, and vice versa, you defend them, who respects your boundaries, your wants, and your needs, who can meet you where you are and be empathetic, right? How can I support you instead of, you'll get over it. And nourishing, someone who helps you grow, who teaches you things about yourself that you didn't know, right? So in order to be a good friend and partner, be a Karen, a good Karen. And finally, walk with me here. Imagine that you just woke up and had the worst day. You woke up and the first thing you did was you tripped over your dog on the floor or your cat or something on the floor and you just hit the ground. Then you go to wash your face and brush your teeth and you accidentally drop your toothbrush in the toilet. Then you're going to school and you hit every red light on the way. Then you get to class and your professor's just in a foul mood. They get real short with you and they're mad that you're late, make an example of you. And everything just kind of spirals downward from there. Then you go home and you talk to a family member or your best friend or your partner and just unload this heavy, horrible day. And they say, well, it's over, so you're fine, just get over it. How's that feel?
Not very comforting.
Typical for me.
Oh no, not good, right? You feel dismissed, you feel minimized, you feel like all of these things that happened today just don't matter, right? Nobody cares about you. But if you had the same exact scenario and that person met you with, I'm really sorry that happened. That sounds so rough. How can I support you? Do you want to go get coffee? Do you want a hug? Right? Thank you for telling me. How can I help? Right? What is the difference? How do you feel now?
A little better.
Supported.
You feel supported. You feel better, right? You feel like what you experienced is real and valid and it means something. And like how you feel is valid. So changing the way we talk to people by accidentally or intentionally minimizing how they're feeling, by like, it's not a big deal. Time heals everything. You'll get over it, right? Instead, use things like, I can't imagine how that feels, but I'm here for you. Or how can I help? What can I do to support you? Those are all really positive ways to be a supportive friend and partner. Do we have any questions about anything that we spoke about at all? Or anything that you want like a refresher on? No? Okay. Thank you all for coming and hanging out with me and participating. I hope you had fun and learned something. I had fun with y'all. On the screen is a QR code. If you wouldn't mind scanning it, it just takes you to a quick like 6 or 7 question survey. and it gives me feedback. And then if you go all the way through, you get a free copy of my internationally best-selling book, The Healing from Emotional Abuse Philosophy, The 3 Keys to Overcoming Narcissism. So thank you very much for being here and spending your afternoon with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Marissa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, before everyone leaves, I just wanna, I know pretty much everyone here, but if anyone doesn't know me, I am Kate, I'm the Title IX coordinator here. So if you have experienced or are experiencing dating, domestic or sexual violence, on campus, know that you are safe to come and talk to me. I think it's great that we all know warning signs, but just know, even if we know all the right things to do, it is never your fault if you have found yourself in one of these situations. We can know all the right things to do, but if somebody has the intent of harming us, they're gonna do it. So it's never your fault. You can always come talk to me, and please utilize our professional licensed counselors, our real mental health counselors on campus, Kelsey and Elba. There is support here for you, and we want to make sure this good. I have my heart and mind. Or can't wait.
Great. Thanks so much.
All right.
Hi, Marissa. You'll send me the link?
I'll send you the link.
Okay, perfect. And I'll add it to the newsletter for next week.
Okay, perfect.
Great. This went very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie. It was great to see you again.
Great seeing you. We'll talk soon.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye.